Everything you are about to witness is for entertainment purposes only.
In France, Macaulay Culkin claims he only got out of the industry alive because he was a smart, suspicious kid, and he got too famous to be deleted, unlike some of the other kids in the industry. The explosive claims made by Culkin were reported by French media, including Les Echos, a newspaper. However, all reports were quickly deleted within an hour of appearing online. During the interview, Culkin claimed that children in the entertainment industry learn very early to recognize which of them want to do bad things to you and which of them have even darker tastes, explaining that some of the Hollywood executives wear a Silence of the Lamb Buffalo Bill type of trophy. Asked to explain what that phrase means, Culkin said they wear shoes, belts, and wallets made out of the skin of muchachitos, the kiddos that have been ritually deleted. Have you seen leather products made from? It has a very unusual, distinctive look. I learned at a very young age to identify it, said 37-year-old Culkin, who has been living in Paris since 2003. I was 11 the first time I saw it. I was filming Home Alone 2 in New York, Culkin said. I was ushered into a back room on set. There was a guy in there, a powerful executive suit type. You know what I mean? He tried to make me relax, gave me a can of Coke, started telling me about the nature of the industry, basically wanted me to cut my parents out. He wanted me to be my guardian, or he wanted to be my guardian rather. He said he would make me into the biggest teen star in history. He said I had it all. He said I had to get rid of my parents. I was like, dude, I'm 11. He said, you're a man now. Macaulay Culkin then explains that the man began to make his intentions clear as day. He started breathing a certain way, and my experience with nasty people kicked in. I could tell he was interested in me. He did something with his lips and told me I was very handsome. I think I managed to say thank you and started thinking about how I could get the F out of there. Macaulay Culkin said the Hollywood executive then dropped a heavy hint about where the came from that made his patent leather shoes. He asked me if I knew Heather O'Rourke.
Now that the files are out, are we going to go back and talk about Chester Bennington, Avicii, Chris Cornell, and Anthony Bourdain, and how they all apparently unalived themselves right around the same time that they were all working on a documentary called The Silent Children?
And the only celebrity at the time in 1993 to come out and say absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. He never touched me. He never touched anybody, as far as I know.
There's 4 FBI agents waiting for me in the hotel room. And my mom's there and she's like, tell them what happened. And I'm like, what do you mean tell them what happened? And I sit down with them and they all kept asking these super sexually exploiting, questions, backsided questions. And I knew that at my age already. And I looked at all 4 of them and I said, are y'all crazy? I said, what you think I'm gonna do? Tell you that Michael did something bad so that we can sue him for money? That's what I told him. I was like, you're crazy. And I looked over at my mom and I was like, are you serious, Mom? I was like, what is going on here? Why are you letting this happen? And she goes, well, I think something happened. I think something. I'm like, really? That man did nothing but be hospitable, kind, loving, giving, everything you could think of. We rode 4-wheelers for 5 hours, me, him, and Chris Tucker. Like, I knew Michael better than all of them.
Yeah, I believe everything that I've seen.
If it was Macaulay now,
I'm not buying it.
Even if it was Macaulay Culkin sitting right here, he would tell you the same thing I did with the same assertiveness.
Yeah.
What happened at the house? That's what all these things are.
That's what's so weird,
What did that?
Nothing happened, I mean, nothing, really. I mean, we played video games.
It really pisses me off that people think about Michael like that. Because,
I do.
Well, you're wrong.
No, but
you're wrong, Howard.
Right.
My opinion is if he didn't do anything to me, I don't think he would have done anything to anyone else.
Police right now.
I've told the police. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information, but they were scanning Michael Jackson. All they cared about was trying to find something on Michael Jackson.
Who you said, by the way, did not abuse you.
Who Michael was innocent, and that was what the interview was about with the police in 1993. I told them he is not that guy, and they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate.
People think sex. They're thinking sex. My mind doesn't run that way. When I see children, I see the face of God. That's why I love them so much. That's what I see. I am not going to do anything sexual to a child. It's not where my heart is. I will slit my wrist first. I would never do anything like that. That's not Michael Jackson, I'm sorry. That's someone else.
What they put me through, because there wasn't one piece of information that says I did that. In any way, they turned my room upside down, went through all my books, all my videotapes, all my private things, and they found nothing that can say Michael Jackson did this. Nothing.
But let me ask you
to this day, nothing. Still nothing.
Let me ask you
Nothing.
Nothing. I got nothing.
Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week, they served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis, my buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted. They were supposedly looking for any discoloration, spotting, blotches, or other evidence of a skin color disorder called vitiligo.
How often would he beat you?
Too much.
Would he only use a belt?
Why do you do this to me? No, more than a belt.
What else would he use to hit you with?
Ironing cords. Whatever's around.
If he hit me, I would hit it back. Which was terrible.
Do you think your father was too strict?
Yes. No, he's gonna kill me.
He's gonna get you still worried.
Rise and shine, bitches. It's time to overthrow an evil satanic pedophilia ring that steals all our tax dollars so they can commit genocide and colonize the rest of the world. I'm not going to be paying any taxes ever again. Probably going to stop going to work. Feeling cute. Might revolt.
Was the nose. Look out right here, right before she went to prison. She's got kind of a W-shaped nose. It kind of dips down. Right here, it's completely absent. You don't see that. So here's before, here's after. By the way, this right here was taken from the February 9th deposition. This is February 9th, 2026, just a couple days ago, where she multiple times invoked her Fifth Amendment right to be silent and not incriminate herself. So here's the deposition photo, and here's a photo before she went to prison. You see that? Now look at the line. This line right here goes from ear top to ear top, but then right here, it goes through the top of her ears. It looks like there's
Well, did I find something interesting today? So on July 24th, 2025, under this current administration's DOJ, somebody from the FBI reaches out to somebody from the FBI asking about the Epstein cellmate interview. Now, not only did we find out that the FBI did not conduct an interview of Nicholas Tartaglione, the cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein, but then that FBI agent replies asking for them to send a sentence or two summarizing the salacious statements made against the individuals in the file. The top of the list is Trump, Weinstein, Prince Andrew, Glenn Dubin, Jess Stanley, Leon Black, Les Wexner, Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, Howard Lutnick, Alexander Guest, Jean-Luc Brunel, and William Barr. Apparently, one of the victims said that William Barr was at Epstein's for a model event, who said he wanted to see her again the next time he came to Epstein's. Another victim reported through the National Trafficking Center that she was a victim of Epstein and that Barr was present during some of her abuse. And someone apparently reported Howard Lutnick to the FBI. He made his money through a Ponzi scheme and money laundering. Again, this email was from July, way before Howard Lutnick got caught taking a bribe of $50,000. Y'all remember that? It was caught on camera. And y'all know how it was always kind of a mystery, the relationship between Les Wexner and Epstein, how Epstein ended up gaining control of his entire fortune. Well, according to this victim, they said that Epstein earned his money from having with Wexner. But you know, this is all alleged stuff and my own opinions, but that kind of feels kind of tracks. Now, I have scoured these files and I have never found any of the victims publicly accusing Weinstein of being one of the people that Epstein trafficked them to. Yes, it's been an obvious connection between Harvey and Epstein through like gifts that he sent him, etc. But go ahead and pause to read this because it very much seems like Harvey Weinstein's MO. And finally, we get to Trump. Now, I found the actual FBI notes from the interview. And when she was 14, Jeffrey took her to Mar-a-Lago to meet Donald Trump, where Jeffrey Epstein told Donald Trump, "This is a good one, huh?" After Epstein's death, she did in fact file a lawsuit against his estate where she said this. Although according to this FBI report, Trump actually responded with yes. But here at the very top of the list, one of the victims said that Epstein introduced her to Trump, who subsequently forced her head down into his exposed, and she actually bit him, to which Trump responded by punching her in the head and kicking her out. Now, here's what I find interesting about this in general, because remember that FBI internal memo? You know, how they said that there was nobody else that was going to be charged and that there was no evidence? Yeah, that memo came out at the beginning of July. And even though they claim that there is not a client list, for some reason at the end of July, they are compiling statements made against individuals in the file. The file. Not the files, the file. Now, why would they be compiling all of this? Why would they be asking for a couple of sentences about these people? What happened on July 24th, 2025? Oh, that's right. It was the first day that Todd Blanche met with Ghislaine Maxwell for their interview. So the conclusion that I can draw in my not stupid brain is that this is the client list that Ghislaine Maxwell turned over to Todd Blanche.
Everyone is currently at a loss for words after finding out that Mr. Bean is dating Mia Khalifa. Yes, you 100% heard me correctly. Apparently, the both of them have been dating since last summer, and many people are spreading pictures of the both of them being seen in public and whatnot all across social media. And this one right here is the most popular one of the both of them. Now, if 100% true, this has to be the most unexpected couple of all time. I genuinely had no idea that Mr. Bean was even still around. And I also had no idea that Mia Khalifa was still around as well. So the both of them potentially dating is just interesting. The one thing that is causing me not to believe this, though, is that a lot of these pictures of the both of them just really seem AI generated. And then also when you search up Mr. Bean, like anywhere, there's always pictures with him and his actual wife. So unless Mr. Bean has a girlfriend and a wife, it just really wouldn't make any sense. So I don't think this is 100% true, but I mean, hey, I guess you never know, but I'm curious to know your thoughts about all of this.
Oh my God. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the Alt National Park Service Facebook page, but I'm pretty sure they are starting a revolution. Hold on, let me get the post. Okay, so they posted this today, and the first paragraph, they're just addressing Americans. The second paragraph, though, they're addressing their coalition directly. And they say, remember, protect your identities at all costs. For safety of coalition members, new files are being distributed tonight. Please follow all instructions carefully. That's a revolution. And then they also say what started as a small group of park rangers has grown into a movement of over 100,000 federal employees. Okay, hold on. There's another post. Okay, so also they posted, it kind of got cut off, but it just says 8, right? And then they commented on that post and said, please disregard if you are part of the general public. And then thank you to everyone helping to bump this post. In time, America will know, but for now, this message is intended for a specific group. This is a revolution. They are starting a revolution.
You know what's crazy to me is that the people of the internet are doing more investigatory work on the Epstein files than the Department of Justice, than the people whose sole responsibility it is to go after people like that. I'm learning more from strangers on the internet. That's a shame.
Trump says the best is yet to come, and what he means by that is Project Esther. Look it up. We are a solid way through Project 2025. We have already begun Project Esther, and Project Esther is a lot scarier than Project 2025. And I don't know about you, but this is concerning me. This is not looking good. That is exactly what he meant when he said the best is yet to come. It's not the best for you or the American people. I can tell you that right now.
So for those of you who have not heard about Project Esther, think of Project 2025 as just Chapter 1, and this is just the beginning of what will be Project Esther. Now, you can go on to the American Heritage Foundation website and find exactly this, but I wanted to clarify something for you. It's how the TikTok transition is actually correlating to Project Esther. So surely by now, you've heard about this TikTok transition, where they're going to give you one of two choices. Come September, you can either upload all of your data to M, or you can choose to lose all of your data and only be forced to use the American version of TikTok. If you're not aware, the American version of TikTok, which they're now going to implement, you're not going to see videos from Germany, Ireland, Canada, any of those people anymore, and vice versa. They will not be able to see our videos. So if you don't transition and make the move to M, which is run by Meta, and we all know who Meta is related to, Peter Thiel, one of the main investors. He also is the main investor in Palantir and Datamine. So here it is, straight from the horse's mouth. Now this is within Project Esther, which you can find on their website, obviously just a screenshot. The HSN and HSOs have made prolific and unchecked use of social media platforms, such as TikTok, bingo, across the entire digital ecosystem to spout anti-Semitic propaganda. Additionally, these social media platforms provide the perfect means of communication and coordination among HSO members and between HSOs, strengthening the broader HSN. So like Project 2025, Project 2025 wasn't exactly handed over to Congress for validation and to pass as a bill, but they were just implementing each part of it. Now, there is that website that you can go to check to see how far they've progressed in Project 2025. I don't believe they've done that with Project Esther, but I'm waiting around for it. These things will be implemented step by step. Do you remember that line? America wasn't Gilead until it was?
The creators of Project 2025 and Project Esther have just launched a $280 billion initiative to send unmarried people to government-sponsored marriage boot camps. In a 172-page long report that blames the declining marriage rate on civil rights era laws, compares unmarried people to those on hospice care, and calls on President Trump to sign a series of executive orders requiring every action taken by the federal government to explicitly measure how it harms or helps marriages and families, the Heritage Foundation proposes marriage boot camps to be held at local churches, to where successful completion of the program would mean that couples are ready to walk down the aisle. Before the Trump supporters come and attack me in the comments saying that Trump is not the Heritage Foundation, over 70% of Trump's current administration either worked for the Heritage Foundation in the past, currently writes for them, or directly helped in the writing of Project 2025 and Project Esther. This report also plans on getting rid of no-fault divorce, blames abortions on the mother, and should not be allowed to be official policy in any administration. The United States is a place where you can get married or not. It's not a place where the federal government decides what you do with your personal time. And if you don't want this to be a reality, you know what to do.
Project Esther has basically 3 goals. The first is to use the surveillance state, both existing and this idea of this kind of tech surveillance state set up by Peter Thiel, one of the major authors of Back to Techno-Feudalism, right? He has Palantir, which is a company that is mainly focused on surveillance tools. So to use all these surveillance tools to identify specifically left-wing critics of Israel throughout the country, so with a special focus on students and universities, because that's where a lot of protests happen. And then to label any type of criticism towards Israel as anti-Semitism, and specifically to label those critics as supporters of, and therefore part of a support network. And that language is kind of the standard Project Esther, right? If you are critical of Israel, you are part of a support network, and therefore you yourself are.
Yeah, we've already seen that.
Right. And then to take action against those people and institutions. So what does that look like? That looks like visa revocations and deportations, which we've seen. Revoking university grants, getting professors fired. You know, a lot of that has been happening already over the last couple of decades. Project Esther focuses on using RICO, which is anti-racketeering legislation, and FARA, which is Foreign Agents Registration Act, and other laws like that to systematically criminalize and prosecute these people. Right? So they're saying that if you are speaking out against Israel at all, you are part of a criminal organization, a support network, an organized crime group, and they're going to prosecute you not just through the normal intimidation tactics, but through things like RICO, which they use to prosecute like mafias and gangs.
If we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
Never in the last 650 years since the time of the Black Plague have birth and fertility rates fallen so far, so fast, so low, for so long in so many places. So the last time that cultures have hit a season like this where we've just said no thanks to life, like it was imposed, and the Black Death that wiped out a third of Europe. And now we're doing it in many cases, and in most cases, voluntarily to ourselves. We're walking away from the next generations.
The whole theory of, we're the only things on the planet that pay to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you never heard that? No. Oh, we're the only,
wow,
only
that kind
species.
of just like bringing tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Isn't it? We're the only ones who pay to be here, dude. We can't just be here anymore. Like, no animal pays to be here. They're just here on the planet.
No, I'm like, that's actually like making me emotional. That's sad. That's a sad existence.
There is no way this is Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the most recent photo of her released on Monday, February 9th, 2026. When you do a side-by-side comparison, the noses don't match, and either do the eyes. Looks like they've got the body double fitted with a cheap Amazon wig. When have we seen this before? Not only that, but the Friday before this picture was taken, New York Post conveniently got footage of Ghislaine Maxwell walking the yard in prison, and what do you know? They are now handing out umbrellas in jail. To make sure her skin doesn't get damaged, or maybe so we don't see her face. The question now is, did she ever actually go to prison? She may have taken these photos in 2020, but the video from that same day seems to be somebody entirely different. So, what do you think? Did Ghislaine's appearance completely change in the last 6 years since she's been in prison? Or did they swap her out with a bad body double?
Here's everything we know about the malpractice lawsuit involving Michael McKee, the ex-husband of Monique Tepe, who is now being accused of her and her husband Spencer's murders. The lawsuit was filed in Clark County District Court in Las Vegas in 2024, and it named Michael McKee as a co-defendant in a medical malpractice case. The jury trial is scheduled for July 2027. Now, the plaintiff's attorneys have now came out and said that they couldn't locate McKee to serve him legal papers. He was essentially unreachable before the Tepe murders. He is a vascular surgeon, and this lawsuit comes out of a varicose vein procedure that was performed in 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada. A PA, a physician's assistant, performed the procedure, and during that procedure, the PA allegedly broke off several inches of a catheter inside of the patient's body. McKee and one other doctor named in the lawsuit were allegedly responsible for training and supervising the physician's assistant who performed the procedure. The suit asserts that because McKee was a supervising surgeon or trainer, that he should be held liable for the PA's errors. Now, just to be clear, malpractice lawsuits in high-risk medical specialties aren't unusual. Surgeons and physicians get named in cases all the time, especially when procedures involve teams or assistants. That part alone isn't really what's shocking. What's unusual is what happened next. Attorneys say that they couldn't get a hold of McKee. The attorney trying to serve him the papers for the complaint said that all of the addresses and phone numbers that were provided were fake. The address that was given out turned out to not even exist at all, and the phone number listed with the state board led to a fax machine. So they couldn't locate him to serve the papers, and now they're saying that the information provided was just not legit. Another thing I want to know is that McKee was not board certified. Board certification isn't legally required to hold a medical license. A doctor can practice without being board certified, but in high-risk specialties like a vascular surgeon, many hospitals and major cities strongly prefer or require board certification for jobs and privileges. Does this have anything to do with the lawsuit? Probably not, but I do think that it adds a little bit of context. And again, malpractice lawsuits aren't uncommon, so for a professional, a surgeon, to kind of seem like he's evading it is very strange. Does this have anything to do with the murders? Maybe not, but if he was actively evading the lawsuit, maybe that says a little bit about his state of mind, that things were kind of slipping out of his control. Is it possible that things were piling up on him at home, at work, and then now he goes to Ohio to visit his family where his ex-wife is, who's happily married? And his charges have been upgraded, meaning that the prosecution believes that they can prove he thought about them or planned them to some degree.
There's a major update in the Michael McKee case. He is the vascular surgeon who has been arrested for unaliving his ex-wife Monique Tepe and her husband, who's a dentist, Dr. Spencer Tepe. The update is that authorities have surveillance footage showing that Michael McKee was in the Tepe home weeks before he allegedly unalived them. Spencer and Monique came to Indiana on December 6th for the Big Ten championship game. And apparently Monique was so stressed out and upset about something that she left the game halfway through and went back to the hotel alone. This was on the exact same day that they have this video surveillance of Michael McKee in their home, and he was in their home for hours before he came back out. So he clearly knew that they were out of town overnight. I want to know how he got this information. And also the burning question, how did he get into their home on December 6th and then again on December 29th? I know that Nancy Grace recently said that he went in through a basement window. I'm not sure if that's true or not because police have long said that there was no forced entry. If you're unfamiliar with this case, Dr. Spencer Tepe and Monique were found unalived in their home on December 30th. Their 2 young children were also in the home and they were unharmed. They died by GSW, and a few weeks later, her ex-husband, Michael McKee, who is a vascular surgeon in Chicago, was arrested for their murders.
Global company is paying its full-time workers so little that they need federal benefits like Medicaid or food stamps. That's not a living wage. And that company should lose eligibility for tax incentives. The government shouldn't give big tax breaks to big companies and then have to pay again to keep their employees from going hungry.
You get what she's saying.
That's double dipping. It makes the taxpayer pay twice for corporate greed, and it's got to stop.
Breaking news out of North Korea, where President Kim Jong-un is set to nominate his 13-year-old daughter, Kim Joo-ae, to be the next president of North Korea and the first female president of North Korea. And let me just say, the fact that North Korea will have a woman as president before the United States of America should tell you everything you need to know about the misogyny, the sexism, and the patriarchy that we are dealing with here in the United States of America.
I don't know if that's how she meant it. That's how it came across to me, is you want us to go after these Jeffrey Epstein people? Do you want to lose your retirement accounts to do it? Are you willing to crash the world economy and drive us into total depression?
Yes, burn it all the fuck down. Yeah, I've been prepping for this. Burn it the fuck down. Burn it.
Make sure I got this right. Our government's been protecting pedos. Every other country's been outraged but us. Donald Trump has been making racist comments. Celebrities been talking about eating babies. Aliens are real. Epstein's still alive. School pictures are in catalog. They've been feeding us our own people, but we're mad about the Super Bowl. Got it.
I guess the DOJ on their cover-up, or the FBI, I guess they forgot about his fucking tattoo, right? Hello.
And what we're seeing right now with ICE is a real life version of the Stanford prison experiment. When you give human beings unlimited power, when you tell them you can treat other people however you want, this is the exact brutality that we see. And even though, of course, this was a very disgusting experiment, it was very unethical, it taught us a lot about humanity. And we're seeing it play out in real fucking time. We are seeing these people, these random ass civilians that have had like 2 months of formal training, just inciting barbaricism and sheer violence on humanity, on their fellow human. The only difference between you and an ICE officer is a vest and 2 months of your time. I don't care what you believe, you should be appalled. And it blows my mind that you're not.
I would rather my music be stolen by hackers and listened to by interested people than use it to subsidize Spotify's billion-dollar war criminal machine. Sorry.
Cash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter.
Well, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offensive to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book.
They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million, and Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Rustin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000.
What does that matter?
And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming.
What does that have to do with the Epstein files?
We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does the Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
You're not going to believe what was in Pam Bondi's notes at her congressional testimony today. She literally had a copy of Congresswoman Jayapal's search history from when she went in to view the unredacted Epstein files. Why is the DOJ tracking what Congress is searching for?
What's killed more people, alcohol or sugar?
Sugar.
Fentanyl or sugar? Heroin or sugar?
Sugar.
Cocaine or sugar?
Sugar. When Lincoln was president, the average American ate less than 1 pound of sugar per person per year. Now, depending on who you ask, The low number is 250 pounds of sugar per person per year, and as high as 350 pounds of sugar. And you'll go, come on, Vinny, you're saying a pound a day?
Why do you think that, why are they protecting the abusers? Why didn't those names come out? Why are the little black lines over all the real important shit? Honestly, what do you think that is?
They're powerful. They're very powerful. One person talked about a name who is in the files, who hasn't gotten attention. I don't want to say the name, but who said that this guy is so powerful in New York that everyone fears him. And I think that the names that probably aren't haven't been released yet or are blacked out, they're probably people who are very, very powerful, who have financial interests, maybe they're saying, look, you put our name out and we're going to talk about who else was involved. We're going to spill the beans about more of what is there. And so I think they were actually very clever. What they did is they put out enough, and they put out a lot of bad stuff that people would say, well, this is a legitimate release. You ask me, is it a legitimate release? Yeah. They put out a lot of stuff. It was pretty bad. I didn't expect even that we'd get this far. But then they didn't put out the nuclear stuff. And so this is the way of saying, yeah, it's not BS. I mean, if I go to a judge saying, oh, they didn't release the files. No, we released the files, and the judge will look at it. Bro, they put out millions of documents. They've called out a lot of people or powerful folks. But what they do by that diversionary tactic is they can keep the worst of it secret. And now it's harder for Massey or me or the survivors to say, let's still get all the files. So someone is being very sophisticated in giving us just enough to pass the test, but keeping the most powerful people protected. And this is a question that we need answered. I mean, why are these people being protected? Who are they? What power do they have? What do they know? Because politically, it makes no sense. Why wouldn't you release it?
France and Germany released the files, guys. Go look at them. They're unredacted. I'm seeing grown men crying. I'm seeing people sickened. I've seen people throw up this morning. Literal throw up, sick and nauseous out their stomach. We're being suppressed. They're not wanting us to see it, but you can find them. Go find it. Putin's going to release the photos that he has of Trump. That'll be the next thing he does. Putin will no longer have control over top of us, and neither will Israel. Time's up, guys. Time is up. Donald Trump, we're calling for your impeachment. We're asking for you to resign before we impeach you, but we can impeach you too. That's fine. But when we impeach you, we will be walking you down to the county jail. Not only are you going to go down as the worst president in history, but you're going to go down as the president who woke America up. Your people are turning on you faster than spoiled milk in the sun on a hot July day in Texas.
Yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files. But the story gets worse. The reality is that Donald Trump's FBI scrubbed these files in March, long before Thomas Massey and I passed the Epstein Transparency Act. Now, my bill is clear. The Epstein Transparency Act requires them to unredact those FBI files. And yet the Justice Department said to me and to Congressman Massey, we just uploaded whatever the FBI sent us. And guess what? The FBI sent scrubbed files. That means the survivor's statement to the FBI naming rich and powerful men who went to Epstein's Island, who went to his ranch, who went to his home and raped and abused underage girls or saw underage girls being paraded, they're all hidden. They're all redacted. It's a little bit of a farce. They're inviting all the members of Congress to go to see the Department of Justice, quote unquote, unredacted files, but they've got all redacted files from the FBI. And it's not the fault of the Justice Department attorneys. They were just told upload things that Donald Trump's FBI had already scrubbed. It's a blatant violation of the Epstein Transparency Act, but it also asks a fundamental question. Who are they protecting? Why are they protecting these rich and powerful men, people I call part of the Epstein class? Why are we in a country where there is no elite accountability for people who do the most heinous things?